I see that I put PM instead of AM. Thank you for realizing that that was a mistake. Also, what I did was I listed this as open QA on Vedic philosophy because yesterday I worked the whole day and most of the night on that video. The video, which is the last one in Simple Beauty of Astrology, which is how to ruin the zodiac. So I didn't have any time to work on the Bhagavatam. So I figured I would just do open Q&A. But this morning I woke up early because of a loud sound. And then I decided that since I was up early, I could get some of that Bhagavatam work done. So we can in fact do the next story, the Bhagavatam Prita story, but we can also do the open Q&A on Vedic philosophy. Hey, we could do it at the same time. Is anybody watching? Okay. You guys are here? I had some weird stuff happen in the studio. It says 6 concurrent viewers. Okay, great. Good. Okay, so any questions? You can, if you prepared any questions on Vedic philosophy, go ahead and ask them. And then if we go through all of those, then we can go through the Earth's Master. And what we would wind up doing with this, since I only didn't really get to work on it for long enough, we could do a little work together, which would be putting this together. Putting together this family tree for from Dhruva to Prithu in terms of the family. All right, but for now, let's see what you have to say about your questions. Is the echo on my mic deliberate? No, but it probably means there's 2 mics on. 1 second. No, is there? No, there's not 2 mics on. You want to hear a deliberate echo? Echo. Weird. Sounds like one of those trucks driving down an Indian street with a megaphone blasting, probably. So that doesn't qualify as a question about Vedic philosophy. If there's no questions and answers on questions on Vedic philosophy, then I'm gonna pop over to this. Okay, Galib G has one. There's a lot of emphasis. Vela, should I keep that echo? It's kind of annoying, though, isn't it? There's a lot of emphasis on guru to get the right guidance. It's hard in Kali Yuga to find a guru. What can we do? That's why you don't get a lot of good guidance. There's nothing you can do about it. Sorry. But it's not like people think of... Let me think of the right example for this. If you have bread, people think of the bread as the enlightenment, and then they think, wait, but you're supposed to have butter before you eat this bread. So they think of guru as butter. And then somebody comes along and says, you don't need butter, just eat the bread. Right? So that is not the way. That is not a correct understanding of guru and knowledge. The correct understanding is Vic's live stream and your internet. If you don't have your internet, how do you access my live stream? The one thing is the conduit or the deliverer for the other, and it's not a separate package. It's not like you go to the store and you buy a pair of pants and the sales lady says, you can also get this shirt with this for half price. Comes with it if you want. It's not something else that comes with it. It's part of one thing. Part of knowledge is the thing which delivers the knowledge. Now, part of knowledge is the perception. So the perceiver and the process of perception and the thing being perceived are all part of the knowledge. What's guru? You think people, when we say guru, we think guru is some probably fat man, perhaps chubby woman, probably old. Male probably has a beard. Woman probably has a big red dot. They probably have on Indian clothing, and they're probably pretty far out, but they might be disappointing at some point. We probably think of that as a guru. That's not what a guru is. The guru is the thing which carries knowledge. Why is it called guru? What does the word guru mean? Guru means fat. Guru means heavy, thick, long, or important. That's what guru means. In poetry, guru is the long sound and lagu is the short sound. Guru and lagu are opposite. Lagu is light. When something is heavy, it's carrying something. Guru is something which is carrying something. It's the carrier or the medium. You know, your phone carrier, your internet carrier, etc. The guru is the knowledge carrier. So to say, do we really need guru is like saying, do I really need internet to watch YouTube? It's the carrier. You don't specifically have, you think of it in terms of some Indian somebody or other, or some older person or something. That's some specific thing that you have to get, but you don't. It comes automatically with the knowledge. If you're getting knowledge, the guru must be there. You might not even recognize it. You might not even know it. And it's not, that's a person, a single person, etc. Guru is the medium which carries the knowledge. Now, the reason why people need emphasis on this, and how you see how it goes in Kali Yuga, is people take TikTok as their guru. People take TikTok as the medium for carrying knowledge. What to speak of YouTube? I used to think YouTube was bad. Now it's TikTok. Before that, it was like message boards and bulletin boards and Facebook, and it's just continuously getting worse. In other words, what I'm saying is, people accept mediums which the medium carries the knowledge that it's qualified to carry. Like copper can carry electricity, wood can carry fire. Copper doesn't carry fire, wood doesn't carry electricity. So you don't get knowledge about basketball from an expert tailor. And you don't get knowledge about, tailoring from Michael Jordan. The medium carries a specific type of knowledge, and people are expecting to get some kind of transcendental spiritual knowledge from mediums who don't carry that. That's the emphasis, and that's the thing. What can you do in Guru? What can you do? Just be real. Galibi asks, what can you do? It's hard to find gurus. Be real. The reason why it's hard to find gurus is because you don't want anything real. We don't want anything real. We want whatever silly stuff we want. So we find the silly guru mediums that give us what we want. TikTok, Facebook, CNN, whatever it is. When you actually want something real, then you do find the medium for it, the source for it. So just be real, be sincere, seek knowledge. At least what the electricity is. Hopefully you know. The electricity is the Veda that is most saliently available in the Bhagavatam. So somehow or another connect yourself to that, then you must have some kind of medium. Okay? Next question is Samurai Mama. Oh my God, the echo Vela says commands respect, and I'm going to try it for the next bit, and you guys tell me if it's annoying. If you deem Vele is crazy, or if Vele's got a good idea here. How much is this? Too much, Mike? Too much echo? Here's some echo for you. Samurai asks, consciousness is individuality, as we see in the Bhagavad Gita. How is the individuality of Bhagavan being the true self of so many beings? How can we understand it? This question is too vague. I don't understand the question. So there's no slow mode on right now, so just rewrite the question, try to make me understand it more clearly. Is echo is good? Kermit. Shabri Prasad Singh. I'm divided in between worldly life. Should I get married or follow Dharma? Bro, you need to read. You just need to read the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You have a complete false dilemma. You complete false dilemma. You know what a false dilemma is? False dilemma is a logical fallacy. So of course nobody learns logic anymore. But logical fallacy. Hang on, this thing is tilted and it's bothering me. False dilemma is one of the logical fallacies where I'll say, look, either go live in California or go live in New York. You got to choose one or the other. That's a false dilemma. Why can't you live in Minnesota? There's another choice. So often somebody will try to manipulate an argument by not presenting other options. Only presenting 2 options, where the only one that's the superior one is the one that they want to champion. So in your case, your false dilemma is either I'm spiritual or I get married. That's the most ridiculous thing in the universe. A lot of people have this false dilemma, but it's the most ridiculous thing. Like you actually even said, I'm divided between worldly life or Dharma. Dharma is worldly life. You have a complete dualistic view of the world and life, and you don't understand that. Oh, let me find you this verse. I got to just read you this verse. You're thinking that you can't be spiritual and have a family or be married. That's completely crazy. So watch. I'll show you some text on this point. Here's a nice one. I mean, I just opened up the Gita to some chapter at random, and I found you a text. Sankhya Yoga Pratagbala Pravadantina Pandita. Sankhya Yoga Pratakbala Pravadanti Na Pandita. Somebody who's a pundit or actually knows what they're talking about doesn't say that Karma Yoga is different from Sankhya Yoga. Doesn't say that Karma Yoga, which means Dharma, which really means Dharma, getting married, having children, being responsible, taking care of people, that is. And nobody who's smart says that is different from Sankhya Yoga, which is philosophy. Ekam apyastita samyak upayor vindate palam. The person who's smart actually realizes that they're the same thing, that one is put into action in the other. I'm going to find you another one. Chapter 2, probably there's a billion of them in chapter 2. Chapter 3, let's look. Oh, here, Arjuna actually asks your question at the beginning of chapter 3. Arjuna actually literally asks your same question. It's been in Bhagavad Gita for centuries, but people still don't know it. Arjuna says, look, you're telling me to be spiritual, but you're telling me to be a warrior and be worldly. Well, warrior is my worldly thing. But you're also telling me to be spiritual and have yoga and knowledge. What's going on? Which one should I do? That's the way that chapter 3 opens. Krishna says, so in other words, then he says in 4, you're not going to get spiritual. Na karmanam anarambam naishkarmyam purushnosnute. You don't get free from karma just by ignoring your karma. Na karmanam anarambam naishkarmyam purushnosnute. Na cha sannyasana deva siddhim samadhigachati. It's not by giving up things that you get anything. Can you hear these words one more time? Na karmanam anarambam naishkarmyam purushnosnute. Na cha sannyasana deva siddhim samadhigachati. You're not going to get free from karma by giving up your karmas. You're going to get free from karmas by doing your karmas responsibly. Then you get free from the negative results of them. It's not by sannyas that you get siddhi. Na cha sannyasana deva siddhim samadhigachati. You get siddhi by the opposite of sannyas, not by giving things up, but by engaging in things and taking things on responsibly. I think there's also something important in chapter 2 that I'll quote you this. The last one that I'll tell you is... So, as you know, chapter 2, Arjuna flips out and he says he doesn't want to do his duties. And Krishna says, let me make sure I didn't move this camera to a weird position. All right. And Krishna says, blah, 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 blah. He gives him this lots of philosophy about the soul and reincarnation and all this stuff. Then after this whole long section of philosophy, he says, look, I'm going to tell you something practical now. Let me find you this verse. Here it is, 39. Eshate bihita sankye buddhir yoga trimam shrinu. Buddhya yukto yayaparta karma bandham prahasyasi. He said, so far, everything I told you is buddhi yoga, something that's in your intellect. Now I'm going to tell you how to take buddhya yukto. Take what's in your intellect, the philosophy that you want to go and meditate on in some ashram or whatever you want to do that you think is spiritual. Take your philosophy and yukta, use it. What are you going to do? Sit in an ashram all day for the rest of your life and think? Take the philosophy and the thoughts and use them. Buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Then when you engage in karmas, you'll do them properly. And you won't be encumbered by them. So, answering this question of whether you should get married or be spiritual, just save yourself the trouble and don't give yourself this false dilemma. But you probably won't be able to be spiritual in either situation. So just be dutiful. Be responsible. Try to act based on knowledge that the self is not so small, that the self is related to all the other selves and to the Supreme Self. Therefore, do your work for the sake of others. First person, your spouse. Second person, your kids. Third person, your parents. Fourth person, the rest of your family. Fifth person, your neighbors. Make your efforts benefit those people, and then you're going to wind up enlightened. Versus going out and running away from all your responsibilities and sitting in an ashram, all you're going to be is frustrated and you're going to sneak off to the movies. So that's my advice. How is the echo there? I'd probably take it off again because I can't believe that it's good. Was it good? All right, let's see what else we get. Velerophon says, it seems to me Bhagavan cannot be understood by life forms, such as even Brahma. So where does that put us humans? At the same time, mortal sages can give boons, curses. So it seems like Bhagavan cannot be fully understood is true. But this is another very simple, basic point that's probably you've already heard it a million times, but hasn't sunk in yet. Bhagavan cannot be understood. That's why the only way to actually experience Bhagavan accurately is not through jnana, but through bhakti. Bhagavan cannot be penetrated. He cannot be penetrated, but Bhagavan can open himself to us. Our perception cannot penetrate Bhagavan. He's impenetrable, impervious. However, he wants to be known because being known is nice. Being unknown is lonely. He wants to be known and understood and interacted with. So he's willing and actually eager to expose himself to our perception. All that we have to do is desire it. We qualify it by our actual desire for it. People don't desire it because Bhagavan is too cool. And we're under the phobia that we have to be that person, that we should be that person who people want to penetrate and understand, that we should be the cool one and the attractive one. So we are we have a phobia or a reflexive subconscious phobia that we're not even aware of a figure who could possibly be Bhagavan. Because we assume that we are supposed to be that person. So this is why we don't have any actual eagerness to perceive Bhagavan. And this is why perception of Bhagavan is impossible. So do you understand? The perception of Bhagavan is made possible only by Bhagavan. If you say that the infinitesimal cannot grasp the infinite, you might be wrong because they're both infinite. But you might be right because one is small infinite and the other is big. But if the big infinite is actually infinite, then it is not limited from fitting itself inside the infinitesimal. So the big infinite can reveal itself to the tiny infinite. But the tiny infinite cannot penetrate or command or dominate or discover the big infinite. And hopefully that helps you, my dear friend Vele. Here we got another question. What is an avatar and how to know someone is one? Avatar means to come in, to cross over some kind of a border, and ava means from above. So somebody who's crossing into this reality from some higher spot is determined to be that's the meaning of the word avatar. Generally, avatar will have an adjective in front of it. An avatar of what? An avatar from where? A Vishnu avatar, Shiva avatar, a Gyan avatar. What? What is it? From what realm? Okay, so these are things you need to think about. Which realm are we talking about? How big are we talking about? I mean, we may have an avatar from Gyan Loka into our Mrityu Loka. It might not need to be a Shiva avatar. You can still be called an avatar. You know, avatar of what? This part is generally left out. Furthermore, every single thing which exists is an avatar. Because everything has come into this existence from a superior existence. In other words, everything which if Vishnu permeates everything and hence deserves to be called Vishnu, then everything which exists is Vishnu's avatar because everything is the expansion of Vishnu. But generally, usually if people throw around the word avatar, they're either saying this person is actually God. In which case you should probably just kick, block, delete contact. You liked it? You thought that it was good with the echo? I'm putting it back on. I'm going to turn it up to 35. Is this epic enough? It's slightly lower. It's a little too epic. Davana, this is an interesting point. She says, I think people want answers too much. The quest for certainty leads them to accept conspiracy theories. People want answers but don't want work. And also, people want answers that they like. People want answers that they like. People think answers and everything is something that you do with your intellect, but and Mercury, no, actually, answers is something that you do. Most people do answers with the moon, their mind. Whatever sounds good to them, they like, or whatever's comfortable to them, they like. Why does it take somebody so long, for example, to stop using a sidereal zodiac? Why does it take somebody so long to stop smoking or stop eating meat? I can sit here and explain to you for sure why it's much, much better for most people to not eat meat. But 80% of everybody will still eat meat. Why? Because we don't make decisions based on our intellect. We make decisions based on our emotions. What we like, what we're comfortable with, what we're used to. And we want answers that don't challenge those things. That's why people like stuff that confirms what they already think. Most people already think that they're not at fault, everybody else is at fault, and so they love conspiracy theories that the whole world is screwed up. The whole world is against them, etc., etc. Thank you, by the way, Bardo. Thank you for that donation. Can you share your knowledge on Krishna and the lover devotion devoid of lust and Radha? This is the apex. This is the purpose of reading the Bhagavatam at all. So I can't just throw it out there. So you stick around with the Bhagavatam and you'll eventually get that. I mean, I can't really specifically answer that right now. It's a little tough to do that. But you'll see me constantly reference this. Everything is in reference to this, really. Melissa, does the Veda back up the idea that the external reality is a reflection of the internal reality? Yes, of course. Samurai Mama, in the Bhagavad Gita it says, you, me, and all these warriors, we have always existed and will always be. This proves that individuality is inherent to consciousness. So I wonder how God feels his own individuality being everything and the root of everyone at the same time. Aha. My daughter is so amazing. Even when I'm in the middle of a live YouTube, she wants to ask me to get up and get her something. No, I can't. Come get it. So the question is, if a person is everything, how did they experience their individuality? This is kind of mind-blowing. I think it's just that we have a fragment, because we're not Paramatma, so it's a little bit difficult to imagine what it's like to be Paramatma. We would imagine that there's another Vic, but it's smaller, and it's in somebody else's heart. And then there's actually 1 billion of those and 1 million of those. And they're all having separate experiences because they're all in different places. But actually, there's just one Vishnu. Like there's one sun in the sky. But because of the existence of many separate reflectors, like spots of water, then the one sun in the sky can be perceived as being in many, many places at the same time. So it's not like Vishnu has 100 million zillion infinite individualities because he's the super soul and he's everywhere and everything. He's one thing. But this one thing is everything. So hopefully that sun and water analogy helps you understand. But it's not a fragmented individuality. It's a singular individuality which appears in multiple places. Hopefully that helps, Samurai. That was a very good question. Kumbasa says, I'm new to Vedic philosophy. Philosophy? Any suggestions on where I should start? Start on this stream, the Bhagavatam stream. The Bhagavatam is the Nigamakalpataror Galitam Palam. Nigamakalpataror Galitam Palam. Nigama is the Vedas. Kalpataru. If the Vedas was a tree, then the Galita Pala. No, hon, you can't do that right now. If the Vedas was a tree, then the tree would have a fruit. And if that fruit was ripe, Galita, so ripe that you could actually drink it, pibata, instead of eat it, then that fruit would be the Bhagavatam. But Bhagavatam is a bit long, so maybe before Bhagavatam, I would recommend Gita. And Gita is a little bit too popular. Everybody has a different version of it. And when you buy a Gita, it's about 80% somebody's comments and about 20% the actual Gita. And that can be a bit frustrating or annoying. So I have a Gita called A Simple Gita. You can get it on Amazon.com. And it's just the Gita. There's a little bit of explanation woven in, but it's 90% Gita and 10% explanation. Ooh. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. In Avatar Leela, Galib says, the bad guys are related to Bhagavan and counter-perform a function like the two doorkeepers. Do they do bad acts like murders, don't they get bad karma? If it's Leela, then actually everybody is playing. If it's karma, then the people that are involved are also doing the karma, getting the karma, and then the karma is going to be burnt by the participation in the Leela. They do have bad karma while they're existing. So they're suffering and stressed out, for example. Right, like Hiranyakashipu, he's stressed. He's like always stressed because of his bad actions. So he's receiving the karma immediately, and it's being burned as part of the Leela. What can we do to help the real gurus who preach the truth? Then you yourself preach the truth. That's the best way to help. What can we do to help the real gurus who preach the truth without mixing things up? Because sometimes fancy things sound more inviting. How do we restrain ourselves from it when we don't know about it? You'll know about it. You'll gradually come to know about it if you have a good medium to a good knowledge source. What is your view on having the worst moon placement? How do you counter this? Like, I don't know. What do you mean by the worst moon placement? Depends on what you mean. And generally, the best way to counter anything is just to be aware that it exists. And, if you're aware that there's a hole in the ground right in front of you that's 50 feet deep, then you have a chance to not walk in it. But if you're not aware that there's a hole in the ground in front of you that's 50 feet deep, then there's a good chance that you're going to fall into it and die. So really, you don't need to think about how do I counteract X, Y, or Z. Just being aware of X, Y, or Z is the counteraction for it. if you're aware of it and realize that it's not desirable, then all of a sudden you're thinking of ways on the fly of how to not fall into that hole. What's Gyan? Gyan. Gladys asks, what's Gyan? There's three basic things. In yoga, there's three basic categories: actions, knowledge, and feelings. In any endeavor, there's these three things. There's the actual actions of the endeavor. Then there's the knowledge, which both inspires the action and directs it. So for example, if you take an action that you want to buy marshmallows, you must have had some knowledge first about marshmallows and how they might taste. So Gyan will be the inspiration for karma. The knowledge of the marshmallows is the inspiration to go out, get in the car, go to the store and buy them. Going to the store and buying them is the karma. Knowing about the marshmallows is the jnana. And then after buying them, you can actually taste them and come to know the marshmallows fully, and that's mature jnana. So the initial jnana, and then there's the mature jnana. And then furthermore, the whole point of the experience is the bhakti, or the way it makes you feel. Feeling component of anything. So these are three components of every endeavor, or yajna, every endeavor. And therefore, Bhagavad Gita kind of categorizes approaches to life into things that are predominantly bhakti focused, things which are predominantly focused on how we feel or experience, things which are predominantly focused on how we know, and things which are predominantly focused on how we act. And the biggest misconception is to think that they're independent, or that they can be pursued independently. They can't be pursued independently. Each one depends on the other. How would you experience the happiness of eating marshmallows if you don't have marshmallow gyan and marshmallow karma? You have to know about marshmallows and know where to get them. And you have to have the vehicle and the money and the energy to go and buy them. Then you can experience the bhakti, the ananda of eating the marshmallow. You can't just have knowledge of marshmallows, or just action of marshmallows, or just joy of marshmallows. Bless you. Thank you. Rajadam, how to understand the way Krishna chastised Indra and Govardhan Leela when he tried to kill the residents of Braj, and how he chastises the demons also. What's wrong with that? What's hard to understand? You can maybe clarify that question. More echo. It needs to sound as if coming from above and below. I think you're a little too into echo. Is this amount of echo bothering anybody, by the way? What's your insights on Kendrapati dosha for Mercury? Man, that is... You never once heard me talk about Kendrapati dosha, did you? So maybe I'm not the right person to talk about that, because maybe I don't know about it. Davana Chimino, thank you for your response. Why are we so complacent? I have no idea. It must have something to do with the survival instinct. I don't know either, but I think that things resist change. By nature, a consciousness is not a changeable thing, so I think there's actually an inherent inertia to reality. It doesn't like change, and it doesn't like to remain aware of change. It's so fast to forget that something was different in the past and will be different in the future. I think that's part of just the way things are. Thank you, Andrew. Green parrot, companion of one of the gods. What's the combination for wealth from stock investments or generate? That's not a Vedic philosophy question, so I'm not really sure. Who is God according to you? What is his name? God must be the best, right? Otherwise, what's the point? So what's the best? First, you have to understand what's good, and what's bad. So people have different ideas of what and who God is and what that person should be named. Because they have different ideas about what they value as being good. Some people value power. Most people value power, and even people who don't think they value power actually value power. So when you ask them to explain what God must be, they'll say he must be very powerful. He could probably kick your ass. He could probably hit you with a thunderbolt if you piss him off. Don't mess with God. A certain kind of person thinks that God is like that because that's what they want to be. They want to be a badass that nobody can mess with, that can do anything that they want whenever they want. So that's what they imagine God to be. But we know people who are badasses, who could do anything that they want, who have as much money to do whatever they want, and they still want to commit suicide. So that's probably not God. But the question of who is God is not something that you should try to answer right away. First, you should try to answer is what is good. Then you'll know what God is. After all, even in English, the word good is just a derivative from the word God. If you understand what's good, then you'll understand what God is. And until you understand what's good, you'll have some weird ideas. So what is good? I mean, it's too cheap sometimes to just tell you the answers to these things. But what's good and what everybody has in, no matter what kind of version of what you think is good, is people want happiness. So some person gets a happiness by killing a squirrel. Some person gets a happiness by helping an old lady across the road. But what everybody wants is happiness. So God must be happy. God must be the happiest. Not the most badass. The happiest. That's actually what makes a person the most badass. Then what actually does give happiness the best? Does the person who get it from killing people have the same quality of happiness as the person who gets it from helping old ladies across the street? Think about it for a while. Experience it. Actually, the happiness that comes from some sources is tainted. You can get happiness from cocaine. Very easy. But you also get a whole mess of troubles with it. So if you really want to understand what God is, you have to understand the supreme form of happiness, the supreme source of happiness. And if you really are going to realize that this comes from other people, the supreme form of happiness comes from a certain type of interaction with other beings, which is called love. So if you want to know who God is, God must not just be the happiest person because he likes to, he must be the lover. Must be the most lovable and most loving person that's engaged in the most perfect love affair. That's Radha Krishna that somebody asked about before. Gladys, I think you asked about that before. Isn't Maya an expression of the individuality of Paramatma? It's an expression of it, but it's a temporary expression of it. Are we dreaming right now? Depends on what you define as a dream. What's the difference between dream and reality? There's no difference between dream and awake. It's just there's no categorical difference between dream and awake. It's just a quantitative difference. When the dream, the reality is only in the mind. In the wake state, the reality is in the mind because of things which are in the physical world. But in the dream, the things are in the dream also because of things that were in the physical world that you experienced previously. Not that much difference between dream and awake. Are you dreaming right now? I don't know what that means. I mean, you can answer that however tickles your fancy. Can the soul override deep-seated sanskars with free will? Or it has to complete experiencing all karmic backlog? It can override deep-seated samskars with free will. That's why the Vedas exist. The Vedas are the manual or the key for how to override deep-seated karmas using free will. The Vedas personified say this. There's a discussion in the Upanishads about free will, and the personified Veda appear in the discussion, and they say if there was no such thing as free will, then we would not exist. We, the Vedas, we exist to provide people the opportunity to do certain things. If there was no opportunity to choose what to do, we would be meaningless. So, yeah, the soul can override deep-seated samskars with free will. And in fact, if you don't, you won't exhaust karma. Karma is cyclic. Trees make seeds, and seeds make trees. And then trees make seeds, and then those seeds make more trees. You never get rid of the trees by just letting them grow. They're always going to make new seeds that are going to make new trees. If you want to get rid of the trees, you have to make an effort to cut it down and then get rid of the seeds. I don't know why you would want to get rid of trees. Sorry, that was a bad example, but thank you, Marie. That is an amazing emoji thing. Kermit, the best answer to the thing about are we dreaming is just to understand that reality is just what you call a dream, like when you go to sleep, is a very gaseous version of reality, and what you call reality when you wake up is a very solid version of a dream. But everything is perception. Reality is perception. That's why it's called Brahman, which means perception. Reality is perception. If your perception is very vapid, then you can call it a dream. And if your perception is very thick, then you can call it reality. Luni, somebody on my stream says hi to you. Bardo, somebody named Bardo said hi. Hello. Vrajadama, Indra, regarding Indra, Krishna did not kill him, whereas the Lord kills the demons who come to try him. I guess is the gist. He doesn't kill all the demons either. It's always individual. First of all, if you hired somebody to take care of something for you and they do something wrong, would you fire them immediately? If it's a very difficult person, if it's a very difficult thing that they're doing that they're uniquely qualified for, you wouldn't just like fire them immediately. You would try to correct them first. But if you have somebody like a next door neighbor who's just annoying as hell, would you get rid of them if you have the opportunity? Yes. First thing. That's how it is with gods versus others. Gods are actually doing important things that are difficult to do in the universe. It's not like Vishnu is just going to dispatch them. The first mistake. Going to try to correct them. But also like Bali Maharaj wasn't killed. Some demons don't even require correction. Some are already perfected. Some can be corrected without being ended, but most of them are causing some disruptions that won't end until they're destroyed. See, this also goes back to the question of I think it was Shalini. This also goes back to Shalini's question. A good person will tend to reform themselves, and a very bad person will tend to resist reform. So the very bad person tends to get a lot of punishment over and over and over again because they resist fixing themselves. So the regulator or the authority has to continuously punish them. But whereas the other person, you punish them once, or you mention something once to them that they're doing something wrong, and they correct themselves. Then there's no requirement for further punishment. Unless the authority is a masochist. Or is it a sadist? Unless the authority is a sadist. Where they like to harm other people. And believe me, the authority is not a sadist. It's the opposite. They like to bring joy to other people. So, in terms of karma, what this means in relation to Shalini's question is, if you have a receptive attitude towards proactively becoming a dharmic person, then your karmas naturally diminish and go away because they're not required anymore, because you've corrected yourself. So in terms of like Virja's question, the gods, they correct themselves quickly because that's their nature. The demons, they remain stubborn because that's their nature. And so the amount of punishment that they get isn't the same. I'm a goat. Actually, Devana, I'm a goat. I'm the Capricorn ascendant. Shivangi, how to alleviate Stri sharp? You would want to do Stri Kriya, like Stri Karma, do some good activities that benefit women, especially if you know the person whose the curse is coming from. How can one see Varna from the birth chart? Asks Eddie Rosario. It's the whole birth chart. Varna is your external color, right? So just look at the whole birth chart. Look mostly at, just look at the dominant factor in the chart. There's no one way. It's not like a checklist. It's reading a chart shows you the person's dharma. And dharma is the function of Varna. How to properly understand the pastime of Tulsidevi? I don't know. Ask a specific question about it. God is a promise. Let's see. Magda, since everything emanates from God, where does it come from? Where does bad come from? Let me ask you this question. Have you never heard of a shadow? That's my answer to your question. How can there be a shadow? I wish I could even show you this. I can't really. I have a light that's specially not to make shadows. How do you get a shadow from a? You get a shadow from a light. That's how you get shadow. So if God is good, how does bad exist? Bad is the absence. Just like shadow is that something is blocking the light. This goes back to Shalini's question, which is that the things which exist are autonomous. There's multiplicity and autonomy in existence. Things can do what they want to do. Why? Because that's what the manifester of reality enjoys. Having things, he does not want robots or mannequins, because life isn't that fun. Would you go shopping in a shopping mall full of robots and mannequins? Would you go on a date with a robot? Yeah, if there's no good people around, it would be actually probably more fun sometimes. People are so lousy and disappointing that sometimes we think it'd be more fun. But compared to people that can actually thrill you and surprise you and do things that you didn't expect and have a choice about whether or not to pay attention to you. Which one would you prefer? Somebody who's forced to pay attention to you, or somebody who has a choice about whether or not to pay attention to you and pays attention to you? So that's why the manifestor of reality manifests things which have autonomy, ability to decide what they're going to pay attention to and what they're going to do. However, deciding not to pay attention to Bhagavan creates conflicts because the center point around which everything revolves is now lost. Now things are revolving around all kinds of centers and clashing with each other and banging into each other. And that's what you experience as badness, pain, collision of interests. Okay, so that, look at that. You guys did great with this. You really like this. I like this Q&A on Vedic philosophy. But I'm going to end it now because it's 1 hour. So thank you very much for joining me, and thanks for the excellent questions.